Now, um, when you get into comic books, sometimes there are certain things you like to follow. There are certain people obsessed with X-Men. There are certain people obsessed with Superman or Spider-Man, or there are certain people obsessed with horror comics, which are really not made anymore. They're the rarest thing in the world. They were popular in the 50s. My favorite hero of all time has always been Daredevil from Marvel Comics. And Daredevil is. He starts out as a young boy, and depending on what story you're reading, what incarnation you're talking about, movie this or TV show that or whatever the hell, when he's between sometimes as young as 10, sometimes as old as 17 or 18, he's out somewhere and there's a man who's blind and deaf crossing the street. The man is definitely blind, and he might be deaf also, but he's definitely blind. And he's crossing the street. And there's a truck, which is like a heavy-duty pickup truck with the fencing around. You ever see those heavy-duty sanitation trucks? They have the Parks Department trucks. They're a pickup truck, a little larger, with some barriers around so they can haul higher stuff. And this truck is carrying vats of toxic waste. And he runs out and he knocks. Yeah, this is the name I like him. I liked him before that. But he runs out and he knocks the old man out of the way. And the truck swerves to avoid hitting the old man. And in the comic books, a vial of toxic waste, and if you're familiar with the Ninja Turtles, his story is spoofed by the Ninja Turtles. A vial of toxic waste hits him in the face, and it breaks open and leaks into his eyes, and it blinds him. But the toxic waste also enhances his taste, his touch, his smell, everything, hearing everything, okay? He can hear whispers across the room. He can hear a heartbeat and determine whether or not someone's lying. He can taste and smell almost anything from better than a dog can. He can actually take his glove off, and he obviously reads Braille for show and tell, obviously. But while normal people are around, he'll be reading Braille. But with regular writing, he can actually take a regular book off the shelf, take his hand and wipe his fingers over the printed letter, and he can absorb the printed letter with his fingertips. And he has these crazy abilities. Obviously, they're kept very secret. And his father is a prize fighter. Low-level guy, kind of like Rocky. If you watch Rocky 1, that's kind of the way his father is. His father does work for a loan shark, just like Rocky did. His father does take a couple of dives for prize fighters, for bookies. Now what happens is, in the world of boxing, a gangster, you saw this in Pulp Fiction, a gangster will pay a fighter a lot of money to lose the fight intentionally, taking a dive. And then the fighter will bet, and the fighter, the promoter or the boxing, the gambler or whatever you want to call it, the fighter, okay, the promoter or the gambler or the fixer, whatever they call him, will pay the fighter X amount of dollars to lose the fight on purpose, maybe $10,000. And then he'll go out and he'll bet $1 million against the fighter. So while he's paying the fighter to lose on purpose, he's betting money for the guy that is going to win the fight. It's called fixing a fight. Most guys know what that means in America, but you might not. And this has happened several times. They've had the 1908 World Series. The White Sox allegedly, some guys actually went on trial for it. They were all kicked out of baseball for it. they allegedly lost the World Series on purpose. You saw Jimmy Burke and Henry Hill paying basketball players to win, but not win by too much. Win by a couple of points. Like win by 6 points instead of 12. Or every once in a while they'd say, okay, you know what? Lose this match. Okay? You're corrupting the athlete to get the result you want so you can bet against the athlete. And his father does this for a long time. But then his father realizes, you know what? Fuck you, I'm not going to do it anymore. And similar to Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction years later, Matt Murdock is in the audience listening to his father. He's already been blinded. His father doesn't want to let him down. So his father goes in there and his father beats the shit out of the guy. He doesn't kill him, but he knocks him out. The fixer spent a lot of money betting against the father and he lost. So he has the father killed. Matt Murdock graduates law school, becomes a defense attorney, and is famous because he'll represent almost anybody. In Daredevil 3, he represents one of his arch nemesis. Okay, because everyone is entitled to a fair lawyer, to a fair trial, to an attorney. Now, he becomes Daredevil to avenge his father's death. And he goes after the guys that killed his father. And the guy that physically pulled the trigger, okay, he beats the shit out of that guy. That guy's arrested. The police are coming. The guy that rigged the fights and ordered the killing, he chases him down, and the guy has a massive heart attack, and he actually stands over the guy and watches the guy have a heart attack, or listens to the guy have a heart attack, and he doesn't do anything to save him. You see a lot of superheroes that will say, I'm not going to take a life, I don't do that, that's not what I do, I believe in the justice system. But when it comes to their own personal problem, the guy that killed their parents, the guy that killed their best friend, okay, they tend to, you know, be a little different. Kind of like the Earps. Wyatt Earp was a man of the law. But when his own family was killed, he went on a vendetta. So now, whereas Daredevil does not kill, and Daredevil believes everyone is entitled to a fair trial, the guy that ordered the hit, he lets him have a heart attack and die. He stands and lets him die. The guy that pulled the trigger, he refuses to defend that guy in court. And my goal is to get every Daredevil issue. Now, I usually go on eBay. This is Daredevil 1. 1964. You're not going to get this in dead-ass mint condition. Okay? The books that are made now, you'll get them in mint condition because the minute they came off the printing press, they're put in a bag and board, and they're packaged really nice. But in the 1960s, there weren't a lot of bags, there weren't a lot of boards, there weren't a lot of collectors. Guys would wrap the comic book up, put it in their back pocket, use it to fly, leave it out in the sun. Okay? So, now that book I got on eBay off a private sale. There was a guy selling comics on eBay, and I sent him an email and said, listen, man, do you have Daredevil 1? As a matter of fact, I do. And I bought it on a private sale. I stopped buying books for a long time when I was in school because I had to buy school books, I had to pay tuition, I had student loans, pay back, stuff like that. I had to work for a while, but now that I'm working, I try to buy 2 books a month if I can. Matter of fact, my goal is to get every single issue of Daredevil Volume 1. And this is box 1 of 3. Okay. Now 2 is going to be hard to get, and 7 is going to be hard to get. I'm going to pay more money for them than I paid for number 1. Okay, there are 390 books in Volume 1, plus a couple of annuals, so I got to do about 380 regular books, plus maybe 10 annuals, so that's maybe 390 books. 390 books, okay? And, you know, there was a couple of series, like Frank Miller did a series where he retells Daredevil's origin in like an updated run. There's another run called Daredevil Yellow that goes into more detail about his origin. He wore the yellow costume at first. And that's my goal with that. Now, Daredevil was adapted into a movie by Ben Affleck. Yeah. Okay, in 2003. And yeah. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Marvel Studios produces movies and television shows, and they're all in the same universe. They're all like in the comic books. They're all together. They have all these guys in these movies, and then they all got together to make the Avengers movies. Okay, and Iron Man 3 stunk, but a lot of them must be good. Now, they announced that Daredevil was going to be on a Netflix television show. And I bought Netflix just for that. I watch other things now that I have it, but I bought Netflix just to watch Daredevil. I do. I did. I really do. Now, I was upset because I wanted to go see a really good Daredevil movie, and I wanted to see it on the big screen, and I wanted to be impressed by it because he's got to be on a TV show. That's that's kind of like relegating him to the B list. Okay, well, here's the issue with that. Critics agree unanimously that the Daredevil Netflix show is the greatest Marvel comic book television show, animated or live action, ever. Ever. Now, because it's on Netflix, instead of watching a 2-hour movie, you're watching 13 one-hour television episodes. Okay, so as this hero was in these movies for 2.5 hours apiece, and so far, 2, 4, 6, they've got 8 hours of movie time. Daredevil, the TV show, has had 2 seasons at 13 episodes apiece. So that's like 26 hours of Daredevil, as opposed to 6 hours of this guy, or 8 hours of that guy, or 5 hours of that guy. On top of that, the movies tend to be rated PG because they want the little kids to come in and see it and be so cute. The Daredevil show is the equivalent of an MC-17 rated movie. They show blood, they fight, they argue, they curse. They get into gritty details about what goes on. It takes place in Hell's Kitchen. It involves gangs. It involves ninjas. It involves the Russian mafia. It involves the Irish mafia. Okay, the Punisher was a guest star last season. So was his college girlfriend, Elektra. So it is an adult thing. And it was fucking amazing. Charlie Cox really nailed it. They get inspiration from the Frank Miller miniseries, where he wears a black long sleeve shirt, black pants, black boots, and just a mask covering his eyes. And he progresses until he gets to the red suit, and in the next series, his girlfriend progresses until she gets to her red suit, and in the next series, he gets a better helmet, and then he gets the famous Billy Club that has the hooks and this. Okay, so it's progression, and it is tremendous. Every episode is related to one before it. It's a continuing series, so if you don't see episode 2, you won't know what's going on in episode 7, and it is absolutely realistic for the comic book. This is as close to the comic book as you're gonna get. Okay, punching, kicking, up close ninja stuff. Stuff like that. There's no kiddie stuff. There's no, we gotta get the little babies in the seats. Let's make it PG-13, or let's have them hug and kiss then. No. Okay, it's as close to the comic as you're gonna get. Now, whereas the big screen, the big heroes, were all in their own movie, and then the Avengers movie. Well, there are several minor characters: Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, also known as Power Man, and Iron Fist, which is kind of like a mystical ninja type guy. They're all going to get their own TV show on Netflix. And then they're going to be in a special combined TV show called The Defenders. Luke Cage Season 1 premieres next Friday. After that, we're going to do Iron Fist. And then Daredevil Season 3 is coming Jessica Jones season 2 is coming. So Daredevil was the forerunner, the headliner of the Netflix universe. And yes, they do reference the major movies in the Netflix TV show, but the Netflix stuff is for adults. Okay, that's the adult show. And I was jumping up and down like a 5-year-old when I saw how gritty and how powerful it was. And there's one scene in episode 2. It was filmed in one take. Charlie Cox, who plays him, punched the guy. The camera's in the hallway. Charlie Cox punches the guy in the face, or knocks the guy around. He's fighting the guys in the hallway. They go into a room. The camera stays in one spot in the hallway, and then the stuntman comes out. You know, they had to have a stuntman, so they phased it so that Charlie Cox would run into the room, and the stuntman would come out dressed as Daredevil and do the fighting and stuff like that. And he walks down this whole hallway, and it's just up close and personal, beating the shit out of Russian gangsters. And he rescues a kidnapped boy. And that fight scene was where every single fan was like, yeah, man. I mean, I actually jumped up when I saw it, because it was just like the all-out brawl that you expect. Because you look at the comic books, they're on the stairwell, they're over the balcony, they're in the hallway, they're in the small confined space, and all they're doing is punching each other's friggin' teeth out. And that was so up to what I expected from the show. So that was just absolutely amazing. Okay. So as far as getting all Volume 1 in place, I'm about 70% of the way there. I fill in a couple holes here and there. If I do 2 a month, I should have it within 5 years. I would have been over by now, but I had to do school and shit like that. So if I was buying 2 a month for the past couple of years, I would have been over it. But let's see what happens. Okay, thank you.